Hello, everybody, and welcome to Recovery Response Weekly. My name is Andrea Galehouse. I'm the office manager for the Clemson Region Small Business Development Center, and I'm located in the Greenville office. Today on the call, I want to welcome Earl Gregorich, the Greenville area manager and business consultant, also located in the Greenville office. Hello, Earl, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
I'm going to go ahead and let Earl talk us through today's topic, recovery response for your small business.
All right. So we've experienced a lot in the last few months, and it's time to move on with some preparations, or if you're in the middle of recovery, we've got some tools and some questions that we normally get from a lot of our audience regarding recovery. So if we could go to the website and show you where you can find some of the resources we're going to talk about today. This is the Upstate SBDC website. You can reach that at scsbdc.wordpress.com. And you see right there on the home page, there's a blue button right there in the center that gives you more information on the Recovery Response Weekly. That's where you'll find our weekly installments concerning this type of a broadcast, as well as some of the videos and so on that we're going to be doing. What we're going to be talking about today, though, if we click on the COVID link right there, this page has a list of all of the resources that we may mention today, as well as in some of our future broadcasts. So primarily, we're going to be working with the recovery resources that are in that first grouping underneath the graphic there, underneath Small Business Strong. And specifically, we're going to focus on the U.S. Chamber Business Resource Recovery Guide. We'll go ahead and jump over to that document. And Andrea's got some questions queued up on some of the things that we were hearing.
The safety is on everybody's mind right now with reopening. It's a big concern. Where do people go to find the products that they need to use in order to clean their businesses?
So yeah, it's definitely a concern. It's not only an internal concern for the safety of yourself, the business owner, as well as your employees, but frankly, if you're going to get folks to come through the doors, you're going to need to make sure that they're comfortable coming back and entering into a very clean, sanitized area. So where we go to get the information as far as guidance on that safety and cleanliness aspect of reopening, I would strongly suggest that you check out the CDC's website, the OSHA website, as well as some of the local guidelines being put out by DHEC here in South Carolina. I know some of the chambers of commerce have adopted some of the guides that have come out from these three sources. So if you're a member of a chamber, you may find that they have gotten together and put together a guide that might pull these three primary resources together as well. But stick to those main three: CDC, OSHA, and DHEC. If you venture too far outside of that, that could get problematic for you, but follow those closely.
That's great. And people are looking at planning now too. So planning's on a lot of checklists out there. But this far into the crisis, what type of planning do you think a business owner should be focusing on?
So planning is a big part of what we do here at the SBDC, even before COVID-19. Business planning, strategic planning, marketing planning, all of these things are always on our list of to-dos and high priorities with preparing businesses for continued growth and sustaining operations to a point of success. Even more so now, in the event of recovery, we need to first and foremost revisit the plans that we had, because most likely those plans have changed significantly. We're no longer living in the world that we did when we made those original plans. If by chance you are running a business without a business plan, marketing plan, strategic plan, something along those lines, then this is a great time for you to go ahead and implement those things. So primarily, any of the planning that we're really suggesting that you focus on, it should include, for sure, some form of budgeting, some form of financial projections. So spend some time, sit down, figure out where you are financially, do some projections, see how the business is going to perform under the quote unquote new normal, and then implement some other things that may have changed, like the building layout or the number of employees that you have working at specific times. It's possible that your supply chain has changed, or certainly the way in which you interact with that supply chain. So planning your day-to-day operations is also something that you want to look into. And then the big question mark on everybody's mind is, how's revenue going to be? How's this all going to come back, and how long is it going to take? So you've got to sit down, figure out what's impacting your revenue. How are you going to plan through this? How are you going to maybe get creative, implement some additional marketing plans to increase that revenue and turn it in a quick manner so that you can get back on the path to recovery sooner?
Those all sound like fantastic activities to be undertaking. If somebody doesn't want to do that alone, are you or the other business consultants in the upstate available to help with that?
Absolutely. Not only myself, but 49 others SBDC consultants exist across the state, all willing to help. We have the tools, the resources. If you've never planned before, we've got outlines. We have financial projection tools that are fairly simple to use. We can guide you through that and sit down and help you troubleshoot those plans and stress test those plans. Certainly, like I said, it's something we do every day, so we'd be happy to help with that.
So let's talk about communication for a minute here.
Okay.
It's such a big part of the successful recovery. You got to talk to your customers. What types of communications do you think small business owners should be concerning themselves with delivery right now?
Sure. So communication to your customers right now, as we're entering into recovery, a lot of us are just getting back, and frankly, a lot of customers don't even know we're open yet. Those that have opened need to be putting a strong push on telling folks that you have opened the doors back up. What's the criteria for interaction with your business? What are you doing to keep people safe, not only your employees inside, but also the customers that you're talking to, that you're targeting to get through the door? We want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable interacting with each other, the employees as well as the clients. So you're going to have to communicate more so now than you have in the past, most likely. We haven't been here. And the more communication you have between yourself, your employees, your customers, and don't forget about your vendors or your stakeholders out there, your partners in doing business. Simple communications can go a long way in making this a much smoother and much faster recovery.
So having that solid plan, that solid communication plan, and that's great. But what are some things that small businesses can do in order to execute that recovery plan?
Sure. So a plan is just a plan. It's just ink on paper until you can actually pull it off, right? So you've got to not only have a plan, but you got to have a plan to execute that plan. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to start with who you work with. Now, you may be a one-person show, or you may be a business that has a team of individuals, but no matter what, you need to make sure that all the folks that are impacted by the recovery, by the virus, are being informed. And as a leader, as someone who's looking to actually implement these plans, you also have to take the position of listening. You've got to get out and get in touch with your team, your customers, your stakeholders. Listen to what they have to say. Get that input from the team so that you can head off issues in the plan, maybe eliminate or minimize those challenges that you may not be able to see from your own vantage point. Take advantage of multiple eyes out there. You can also sit down, review your plan, try to anticipate what is maybe going to go astray with that plan, maybe take care of some tasks that may have fallen through the cracks that have come about through that initial implementation of a plan. Every plan is great on paper, but as soon as you implement it and it meets the customer or it meets the vendor, things start to get shaken up a bit. So you have to sit back and reassess from time to time. Make sure, again, going back to the communication thing, that you are coordinating the steps of the plan with those impacted. Vendors especially, they're used to business as usual, but they're also making changes on their end. You need to make sure your plan is synchronizing with the other people that are also impacted by that plan. So reach out to some of your vendors, some of your stakeholders, make sure that they are also on task with this. And then, of course, like we said, working with your customers, making sure that they are aware of what you're doing, a step in, a step out. The fact that you have an internal plan and you are executing things with regards to financial projections, that's a good thing. But your customers need to have an understanding of how they interact with your business. They may not have to understand where the dollar from their pocket goes directly to your bottom line, but they need to understand how to be able to participate and help you grow, sustain, and recover your business in these times.
Fantastic. And I was thinking about how an entrepreneur might go about adapting to the ever-changing situation, and you really kind of covered that. But any other suggestions? You know, they got this great plan, they've thought it over, they're in the heat of it, and something happens, and they've got to switch gears. Any advice on switching gears and making that adaptation to the
Sure. I think one of the things that everybody has hope of is that they implement this plan, this grand scheme, that everything's just going to go great. It's going to run smoothly and work out just fine. But the fact is, it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. So don't go into this with expectations of perfection. Understand that a plan is just a framework. It's just a model that gets you from where you are now moving forward, and be prepared to make some changes along the way. Some of them may be small, some of them may be large, and frankly, there may be some cases where you just got to toss the entire plan and start again. That doesn't mean failure. It certainly may mean frustration, but you've got to keep the mindset that, hey, we're all in this together. We haven't done this before. It's not going to be perfect. I need to be willing and able to make those changes. The other thing I would also say is, when you're going to make a change, make sure you're making changes based on good, solid data, observations. Try not to make a decision based on information that you can't validate, or gut reactions or emotional reactions. Make sure you're collecting data on customer behavior, the interaction your team is having with your daily operations, and react on that type of information, not just conjecture. And then keep an eye on the community. Keep an eye on who is being impacted by this and who's on the receiving end of this plan. If they're not reacting the way you expected, you need to make a change to that plan. You need to tweak it a little bit, and don't be afraid to ask that customer, hey, you came in today, we appreciate that. What brought you in? Or maybe you know of a longtime customer that hasn't come in yet. Reach out to them. Ask them, what is it that we could do to make you more comfortable with maybe interacting with us again? So don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions of your customers.
It really sounds like the theme today is planning, communication, and adaptation, doesn't it?
Definitely.
I have one last question for you, Earl, before we sign off. What are some overall tips and pointers that you could provide to an entrepreneur who is working through recovery right now?
Yeah, so that could probably be another hour's worth conversation, but I can't help but always respond to a question such as this with, make sure you understand the numbers, make sure you understand the financial aspects of all the decisions that you're making. We're no longer in an atmosphere where you can run a business and succeed in spite of yourself, so to speak. You have to be intentional about making cash flow work, not necessarily worrying as much about profit as what you may normally under normal economic circumstances. Right now, We need to make sure we have the cash flow. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our basic expenses, and we are moving forward with the plan in such a way that eventually we can meet profitability. Cash flow is the most important part right now. So I would focus on those numbers and the cash flow aspects and just make sure that those are covered first and foremost.
Thank you very much, Earl. And before we sign off today, I just want to remind everybody that you can get connected to a SBDC consultant in your area. Just give us a call. Go to the website, scsbdc.com, to sign up for counseling, or give us a call, 864-370-1545. We look forward to connecting to you. Our services are free and confidential. Thank you.
Thank you all.